Picture this and really let it sink in. Your phone's GPS suddenly glitches, your paycheck inexplicably stalls, and your trusty weather app just shows a blank screen, all at once. There's no solar flare scorching the atmosphere, no shadowy hacker tapping away in a basement. The culprit, somewhere 400 miles up, a satellite just went blind. That, my friends, is how the next war starts. And trust me, you won't hear a single bang. It'll be a silent, insidious kind of conflict that unravels the very fabric of our modern lives. This month, the United States didn't just casually launch another exercise. They quietly kicked off Resolute Space 2025, the biggest space combat drill in history. We're talking about 700 Guardians. Yes, that's their official real title, who are right now locked in fake orbital battles. But don't let fake fool you. These simulations look chillingly, terrifyingly real. If you've ever wondered what an actual space war feels like, what it truly entails beyond Hollywood's flashy lasers, then you need to stick around. The actual footage is, of course, classified, but the lessons we can glean from it, those are anything but. Why your life hangs on a 170,000 mile per hour box. Let's be brutally honest. We live on a planet that has outsourced its collective memory, its vital functions, its very pulse, to machines moving faster than a rifle bullet. Think about it. GPS timing signals are the invisible backbone that lets banks timestamp every single transaction, ensuring your money moves where it's supposed to. Weather satellites aren't just giving you a forecast, they're telling farmers across the globe when to plant their crops, directly impacting the food on your table. And constellations like Starlink, OneWeb, and countless government satellites carry everything from your latest Netflix binge to the most sensitive nuclear command messages. So what happens if you knock out enough of those birds up there? Suddenly, the world isn't just inconvenienced, it's plunged back into 1953, but with the critical difference. There are far more people and significantly less patience. We're talking about a complete societal breakdown. Remember that Chinese ASAT test back in 2007? It created thousands of pieces of debris, tiny metal shards, still whizzing around, posing a threat to everything in low Earth orbit. Or consider the Russian cyber attack on Viasat hours before their tanks rolled into Ukraine. That wasn't about blowing things up, it was about flipping a switch, proving you can cripple an adversary simply by turning off their connectivity. Space isn't just the high ground anymore. It's become our soft underbelly, a vulnerable nexus upon which everything depends. Meet the 700. Enter Resolute Space 2025. This isn't just another training exercise. It's a landmark event. For the first time, the U.S. Space Force, established in December 2019 to protect U.S. interests in space, pulled every single career field into one giant scrimmage. We're talking orbital warfighters, electromagnetic jammers, intel analysts, and guardians who speak French, German, Japanese, and Korean. They're all integrated into this massive, complex simulation. From Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam, and Hawaii to Peterson, Schriever, and Buckley Space Force bases in Colorado, Guardians have been running 24-hour shifts inside what the military calls live, virtual, and constructive, or LVC simulators. What does that mean? Well, live involves real people operating real systems, like soldiers on a physical training ground. Virtual means real people operating simulated systems. Think pilots in a flight simulator. And constructive introduces simulated people operating simulated systems, often AI-driven entities, creating a truly dynamic and realistic environment. Imagine a multiplayer video game, but instead of controlling avatars, they're issuing real satellite commands. If an aggressor's satellite creeps within 20 kilometers of a billion-dollar missile warning bird, these Guardians are practicing dodging, jamming its signals, dazzling it with lasers, or even calling an ally halfway around the planet to take the shot for them. The goal here isn't to create Hollywood dogfights. It's far more pragmatic. It's about keeping those vital orbital lanes open, so Marines can still call home and traders can still buy wheat futures. weapons you cannot see. Forget phasers and photon torpedoes. The real tools of space warfare are far sneakier, far more insidious. We're talking about electromagnetic warfare teams that can flood a frequency with so much noise that an enemy receiver drowns in static, effectively deafening their communications or blinding their sensors. It's like trying to have a conversation in the middle of a rock concert. Impossible. Then there are the Space Domain Awareness Telescopes. Some are no bigger than backyard Dobsonians, yet they can track objects the size of a Coke can 1,000 kilometers away. This isn't just about avoiding collisions, it's about understanding intentions. Is that tiny object natural debris or a stealthy inspector satellite? Knowing what's up there and what it's doing is half the battle. And let's not forget NavWar crews, who can subtly spoof GPS signals, tricking drones into landing in the wrong country or misdirecting critical assets. Everything in these drills is rehearsed under a fake country name, of course, but the physics, the tactics, and the potential outcomes perfectly match what China and Russia have already been testing in the real world. When Guardians talk about kinetics, they're referring to that terrifying moment when polite jamming or spoofing escalates to a physical smash, an actual collision in orbit. This isn't just a minor incident. It creates debris clouds that could render low Earth orbit unusable for decades. That truly is the nightmare scenario. You might win the battle in the short term, but you lose the highway to space forever, choking off humanity's access to a critical domain. Allies are not extras. The exercise motto for Resolute Space 2025 isn't just a catchy phrase. It's allied by design. This isn't something bolted on as an afterthought. It's fundamental to the strategy. Royal Air Force and Royal Australian Air Force officers weren't just observing. They were sitting in the same blue-lit operations floor at Schriever, sharing orbital plots and critical intelligence in real time. Japan contributed vital space surveillance radar data from its island of Okayama, extending the eyes and ears of the alliance. And Germany linked its brand new space tracking center at Udom, integrating its capabilities seamlessly. The lesson here is crystal clear. If Washington ever has to fight up there, it certainly won't be alone. These combined command posts practice switching control of satellites to partner ground stations when U.S. dishes were quote-unquote destroyed by simulated strikes. This demonstrates a crucial resilience and interoperability, meaning a disruption to one nation's ground infrastructure doesn't necessarily mean a loss of space capability. It's like NATO Article 5, the Collective Defense Clause, that states an attack on one is an attack on all, translated directly into orbital mechanics. It's an understanding that our collective security, even in the vastness of space, depends on shared responsibility and integrated capabilities. The human factor. Hollywood loves to portray space troops as emotionless, laser-focused drones, detached from the mundane realities of Earth. But the reality is far more human, far more complex. You might be surprised to learn that half the Guardians are former Air Force maintainers, people who joined the Space Force looking for more stable duty stations, a career path that kept them closer to home. Many others are incredibly bright 24-year-old lieutenants who probably learned orbital dynamics from YouTube tutorials before they ever earned a badge that looks like something straight out of Star Trek, but feels very much like homework. These aren't just joystick jockeys. They're making incredibly high-stakes decisions. In one particularly poignant vignette, they face an agonizing choice: sacrifice an aging weather satellite to save a critical GPS bird. The vote itself took only 90 seconds, a quick show of hands. But the emotional hangover, the weight of that decision, lasted for days. Why? Because war in space, while cheap in terms of direct blood and immediate casualties, is incredibly heavy in conscience. Every piece of debris you create, every satellite you disable or destroy could hit a civilian communications satellite and orphan a remote village's only internet link, cutting off aid, education, and connection to the wider world. The consequences are global, long-lasting, and profoundly human. What happens after 2025? This isn't a one-and-done exercise. The gears are already turning. Defense budgets are shifting, moving money from legacy fighter jets to developing satellite-resilient waveforms, technologies that can withstand jamming and spoofing. Next year's drill is set to include commercial crews, a groundbreaking move. Think SpaceX, Amazon, and other private space companies, integrating their assets and expertise. Why? Because these commercial entities can often swap out firmware and innovate faster than the Pentagon's traditional procurement cycles. Meanwhile, Congress is actively debating whether to grant the Space Force its own Title X authority. This would essentially give them the power to shoot back in space without having to navigate the often slow chain of command through an Air Force that no longer directly owns their assets. It's a crucial step towards operational agility in a rapidly evolving domain. And while we're busy preparing, our adversaries aren't standing still. China, for instance, is building a second fleet of inspection satellites, some equipped with robotic arms that could potentially grab or disable other satellites. Russia, not to be outdone, has launched nesting doll craft, satellites that can deploy smaller satellites or even projectiles to stalk and potentially attack targets. The pace isn't just an arms race, it's an arms sprint, a frantic dash for dominance in the ultimate high ground. So if your GPS felt a little glitchy last week or your streaming service buffered for an extra second, it might not have been your internet provider. It might have been a rehearsal happening 300 miles above your head. If this kind of behind-the-curtain look at the real space military world, where the stakes are astronomical and the consequences hit home, truly matters to you, then hit subscribe. I drop fresh episodes every single week that take classified jargon and turn it into plain English, no security clearance required. Conclusion. The first shot of the next global conflict won't echo across a dusty battlefield. It'll be a silent flicker, a signal lost, a panel gone dark, hundreds of miles over your head. Resolute Space 2025 is Washington's way of gaming out that terrifying moment, of trying to understand and prepare for it before it happens. Whether those 700 Guardians succeed quietly, protecting our orbital infrastructure without us ever knowing, or fail catastrophically in a shower of debris, your tomorrow depends entirely on their tonight shift. So, the next time your Maps app stalls for just 3 seconds or your video call briefly freezes, maybe give it a second thought. Somewhere, a Guardian might just have saved the world, and chances are no one on Earth will ever even know their name.